That is such a great question. Are there rules in the book that tell you when to jump in and when to jump out? And the answer to that is absolutely not. The only rule that we have, because it isn't black and white. If it were black and white, it'd be so beautiful. Until he does these things, I will help him. Then when he crosses this line, I won't. Addiction would be so much easier if it were like that. And it's different if it's a child versus somebody you're married to versus somebody you're dating. It's, a friend versus somebody you're related to. But the big rule is to own your choice. That understand to give without expectation of return. That's the rule, is that you can do whatever you want to do with the addict. You can bail them out of jail. You can pay their rent. You can send them to therapy, you can mortgage your house to pay their bills. But don't blame that on them. Own that decision. You made the decision to do that. They're not making you do anything. And that's the rule, is that because it isn't black and white. Sometimes you do need to do some things. Sometimes you don't, but it's always your decision.
We have a section in the book called A Rock and a Hard Place, because even if you've detached beautifully and what have you, you end up in the rock and the hard place. We ended up there when our last brother moved to our town. He moved from Washington, D.C. to our town, and we ended up between that rock and the hard place. Where do we help our mother out, our elderly mother, and where do we stop with that? So that wasn't clear. But what we did decide when we did decide to help, we did draw a boundary about where we would help and where we wouldn't. But we owned what we were doing. And so we didn't get mad at our mother or get mad at our brother when we made choices to help her do that. Absolutely. Yeah. You don't pay for rehab and then get mad and force them to go to rehab and then get angry that they didn't succeed.
And you don't pay off their credit card bill and then you're shocked when they charge it right back up to $5,000. Their behavior is actually very predictable. If they are rescued, they will violate that until they come to you and say, I want to get sober and I'm taking action to get sober. Nothing's going to change. So again, the simplest way I can say it is just give without no expectation of return.
Yeah. And that's You're an adult.
And that's a rule out of Al-Anon,
yeah.
I think. And that two biggest things for Al-Anon were that detachment is love and that to give without expectation of return.